Hello guys, welcome back to Top Drive Show. This time it's the September Q&A. I'm very glad to see all of you as we haven't had any videos for a while since PL12 landed. So in this Q&A we'll answer 5 of your questions from the previous video. I also wanted to let you know about Top Drive celebrating its third birthday. So we'll chat a little bit about that as well. And John will look at the bonus questions too. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hi everyone, I'm Dmitry, Community Manager at Top Drives.
Hi, I'm Jonathan and I'm Design Director at Hutch.
Hi, I'm Tim and I run Marketing and Analytics at Hutch.
Hey guys, so we are back with our September Q&A. It's been a while since our last video. I think the last time we covered PL12, so it's good to be back. So the first question I have for you guys is, how are you both doing actually?
Let you go first, Tim.
All right, yeah. I mean, I'm doing great. I have had absolutely terrible luck with the PL12 packs. I mean, it balances out. I was pretty lucky in the last 2 updates. This one, like, I've seen other players complaining about it, and I've been there before with French Renaissance. I've opened 10 carbon fibers and the elite pack and nothing above a B. I've got some great, Donkovurts. There's some good stuff, but I've literally got all this food ready for an epic. I can do it in a flash. No, nothing for me. So, ups and downs. That's how it goes. What about you, John?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been off for a bit of a break, more kind of staycation. I think a lot of people are doing the staycation thing this year. So just really getting back in. It's that thing where I haven't been off for a little while, so it's trying to get my head back into gear. And lots going on at Hutch, which is all good. So yeah.
So it's good times. How you doing, Dimitri?
Yeah, pretty good. Although, as I said to you earlier, I'm starting to forget how to speak English while being back at home, but I'm coming back quite soon, in 10 days. So,
all right.
I'm hoping to recharge that a little bit. But overall, pretty good. Although a bit sad about it being September now.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very fast summer. Okay, so let's jump into the Q&A. We have picked 5 questions from the previous video, and all the people will get the carbon fiber pack on their account as usual. I will reply to your comments and will advise you to contact our support, and then we will award your accounts with those carbon fiber packs. So, as I said, 5 questions. The first one is from Ben RS. Hi, Ben. And so Ben is asking, have you guys ever considered having time-limited game perks? Some perks that could be offered for a few days or a week to encourage heavier play could include half-price clubs bonus, half-priced car upgrades, 2 times cash for selling cars, random super rare cars on prize boards, tickets load 2 times faster, etc., etc. So what do you guys think about that?
Right. That is interesting because I again, it's always reassuring when you can say, I've seen that in other games. So, it's like, okay, there's not a crazy thing out of nowhere. That is a thing that they do. I quite like it. We actually did this. I mean, it was for complicated reasons, but we briefly did the club bonus multiplier for half price, right? And that was great. I don't usually buy it. I don't have the time to make the most of it. I know players are really good at doing that. I don't usually do it, but for that one, I was like, all right, it's half price, I'll do it. I'll go nuts for a week. And that's great. It's kind of exciting, right? Adds a bit of variety to it, puts a bit of different emphasis on what you're focusing on. And if you do it on a lot of things, it can create some slightly weird effects when you're like, oh man, I better not sell any cars. I'm going to hold it until there's that time when it's double value for selling cars. And then you're like, oh, I don't have enough slots. And the whole interactions get a bit weird. So not all of them, I think, are great, but I do think it is something we should look into doing, just little things that just mix it up, shift the emphasis from time to time. I like it.
Yeah, that's good. Like you say, sort of anything, is a big part. We talk a lot about fairness and balance and maintaining a kind of balance. And I think anything like this, you do, as you say, Tim, it's I think it's looking at it in kind of, say, maybe kind of moving it about and trying it in kind of small ways to begin with. just so that we don't obviously sort of, inadvertently upset, the fairness situation or the balance that people have. But like you say, it's like, it's common. It's done a lot. And game I'm playing at the moment is it's just triggered it this morning, and so I'm incentivized to be playing as much as possible.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add that for those wondering what are we doing with those suggestions, we do actually look at all the suggestions that are being put in the comments, and we add them to the list. So there's always someone looking at them. So even if we just mention them here, it means that probably someone from the team has looked at it a little bit closer. And keep them coming. Thank you, Ben. Next question comes from Marko Jankovic. He's asking, what do you think about an option to see how much is the value of our garages? Maybe even we could use filters to see what's the value of all of our standard cars or medium height and so on. So you get the point, guys. Basically value.
Yeah, it's so funny. I know this is not what's being suggested, but I think in the early days of Top Drives, I sort of loved the idea about bringing real world car price data into the game, because that's right. The trouble is that it only goes so far. So there's a couple of guides, I think they're quite famous in the trade, that sort of have up to date prices on every car, kind of based on condition.
Yeah.
So, that's the sort of thing we could have maybe done a partnership and fed that in, but that just doesn't deal with the classics or any sort of collectible cars. As far as I know, there is no sort of one source of that information. But
that'd be quite odd, right? Because I've got it's just a standard rare, the 1955 Porsche 550 Spider style icon, and it's just a rare. But I'm guessing that's probably going to be pretty tough to get at auction.
Yes, those are worth an absolute fortune now. So there could be something really interesting. And actually, another thing that I was keen to do, again, this is very sort of early days. We was look at again, I don't know how we do it. Sort of almost average power outputs, or it's difficult when you're talking about such varied collections and of different sizes. It's just like, how do you summarize that in an interesting way? But it definitely would.
I think we were talking about this, I think, back at the beginning, and then we saw something happening, right? Which is that players would sell their legendaries and stuff to open more packs, because they'd look at it and go, 275,000 cash, I could open a bunch of packs. And of course, that is a bad idea. You're almost certainly going to get something worse. That's by design, right? Otherwise, the game would be about constantly selling your cars and buying packs to get even better ones, and then sell them to get even better ones, which it actually was like in the beta at one point. That was a mistake of balancing. And so we fixed that, so it's a bad idea. And the idea was, what if we showed players, like, you've got 30 million cash worth of cars? It would just probably tempt more players to go, imagine how many packs I could open. I'll sell them all, and then have a bad time. So we don't want to encourage that. But I did think the maths you'd probably have to define, but you could do a cleverer thing than that. You could say, how much is each car in your collection worth in terms of equivalent amount of cash you would have to spend to get it from a ceramic or whatever. So then it's not like a legendary is worth 275,000 cash. You will have to, on average, spend more than that in cash to have a chance of getting legendary. What if we work that out? And then we go, so this is the equivalent you'd have to spend in ceramics to get your collection. So don't sell it, because you'll get much less. It could work that way around, right? I like the idea, like they say, of being able to filter as well, and be able to say, my German collection's worth twice as much as my British. Maybe I need to work on my British, or something like that.
Yeah, and there's also actually the money you put into it. Again, that's very much a real world analogy, but a lot of people will talk about, whatever the car is, it's just like, okay, this has had £20,000 worth of work done to it.
The upgrades,
Yes, yeah. So there's a couple of ways. I mean, definitely a nice idea. We just need to figure out the details of what actually makes sense.
Yeah, I like it.
Great, thank you very much, Marco. CF Pack will go your way. Next question is from Morten Olesen. He's asking, what's the plan with the titanium pack that you awarded in an event around half a year ago and hasn't been seen since? Will we be able to buy or win it again?
Right. I mean, the funny thing about that pack as well is like we invented it a long time ago, even before that as well. And we were just like, this could exist, couldn't it? It could exist. Yeah, you could have it. It's guaranteed epic, and a chance of legendary. And then it was only eventually like, oh, here's a way to run it. So I do think it's not something that should come up a lot. It's kind of a crazy pack. Buying it, I think, as well, is a little bit problematic. It will be very expensive indeed. And I know there's a weird thing with disappointment, right? You buy a ceramic, you're almost never disappointed. You're like, it'll be a super rare, or if it's something better, I'll be amazed, but happy. And when it's a pack where I think it has a 1 in 4 chance of being a legendary, you're sort of buying it thinking, it could be a legendary, couldn't it? It could be. And most of the time it isn't, and then you're disappointed. So that the way that works and how it feels isn't great for buying, I think. So maybe it might come up once. I think we should consider putting it in an event just for variety, just occasionally. I think it's worth doing, but certainly not a regular event. So yeah, I don't think there's any particular reason it's out. There's no reason it's terrible. It's just quite interesting, but a rare bit of spice to add to the game.
Yeah, I would add to that in my view also that the Titanium pack should be specifically related to Titanium-related events. So, if we have a similar type of event, the pack would be called something different. It would contain maybe different stuff. So it's just a limited time thing. So it would probably be something else, I guess, if it was to make a return in the future. So the next question is from the Year of Change, and this relates to the trophies. So the question is, why do I have 2,500 trophies and my mate has 400 trophies? We have pretty much progressed at the same level. We have roughly the same cars and place about the same in the competitions. So yeah, let's chat about trophies and why some players get that many.
And you know it because this happened to you, Dimitri, right? It's a funny anomaly we noticed in the game. And it dates back to the fact that originally you started with 2,500 trophies when you first installed the game, and then you could win them or lose them. And the idea was it's following the sort of ELO score in chess. It's like, this is roughly how good you are, and then when you lose or win against somebody, it adjusts. And that's, I think, how that score works. You start at an average level and it adjusts it up or down. And then we switched this whole thing where we're like, okay, no, actually, we've got people smurfing their trophies down to get easier matchmaking. We don't want to do that. So let's switch the paradigm. You start at 0, you work your way up, and you can't go below, I think it's 500 at a time. So that you can't get away with that. But what that means is that somebody who started the game a long time ago and then stopped, and then they come back now, they still have those 2,500 trophies that they got when they started, where somebody started more recently has 0. So that's a bit strange. It's a bit unfortunate, and that's what happened to you. And I checked in the data. It's a very, very small number of players. You have to have started the game a long time ago now, and then you come back to it. It's very tiny. Fortunately, as well, it doesn't disadvantage you that much as well, because the lower trophy bracket generally encompasses that anyway. So you should be in the same matchmaking, luckily. And if you're having a hard time winning, well, those trophies aren't going to go up. So that's how it's supposed to self-balance. So it's a weird anomaly, dates from this old thing. I think that it's not too bad. It's hardly anybody. A bit unlucky if you've got it, but I think you're not affected too badly. So that's how it's worked out.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I actually signed up with the game apparently.
Yeah.
Back in September 2017.
Yeah, long before you joined Touch. Yeah.
Exactly. I had absolutely no recollection of that event. Nothing at all. So yeah, apparently that's exactly what happened to me. So
yeah.
So thank you, the Year of Change. You're getting a CF pack, and we have a final question again for you, Tim, mostly. And we will be talking about MRA. So the question comes from dizionario top drives. So can you make it possible for MRA to be explained when you start playing top drives? I began playing top drive 2 years ago and didn't understand what MRA was for a while. Doing this would help newer players in the long term. So MRA is mid-range acceleration.
Yeah, well, that's not just me. That's a John question as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole area is, I think we've discussed it in different ways. it is a tricky area for us, because while there are public-facing performance stats that are, as in I say public-facing, I mean there's the manufacturers issue certain performance stats for their cars. Most of your mainstream manufacturers do not generally, as a sort of general rule, issue stats above, say, kind of the 0 to 62 range,
because it's not legal in their country, right?
Yeah, probably for very technical reasons. That it's sort of, in a way, from their point of view, it is irrelevant. Obviously, there's manufacturers out there, particularly the kind of the high end, the performance specialists, things like that, where some of them will actually kind of promote the crazy. I think Bugatti do a lot of like 0 to 186 miles an hour sort of runs and things like that. For us, it's different in kilometers an hour, but so that was something that we did early on. We just simply had to make the decision that we could not sort of almost promote that or sort of push those stats within the game. Obviously they exist. The cars have acceleration curves and have top speeds, but it wasn't something that we could push in exactly the same way that the manufacturers don't do it. Their cars are capable of those speeds, but they don't sort of promote it. They don't push it. So, but having said all that, I mean, that doesn't take away from, the question is absolutely relevant still, in that we should be, we should still find ways to communicate the fact that certain cars you can have a car that is slower to 60, but then really comes into its own above that. And that's something the simple answer is we haven't come up with a nice, clean way of bringing that up and surfacing that in the game. But absolutely agree that we should be finding ways to communicate that.
Yeah, and the bit that we do right is that if you click on the race info button after a race and go, what just happened there? It goes, the winning car had the following advantages: better mid-range acceleration, and that's sort of all right. I feel like even if you've never heard the term before, you can see that and go, oh, okay, I sort of get the idea. And then there's nuance within that, like maybe it's better from 40 to 80, or maybe it's better from 120 to 180. There's different ranges. So there's some nuance. There's also the problem that button sometimes doesn't know what the answer is. And if it doesn't know, it just says mid-range acceleration. That's probably a bit silly. That's what we've talked about. We could probably improve how well that button does. Some players who are new maybe don't even realize you can press that button, so they're in trouble. We could probably make that more obvious the first time it's relevant. But I think maybe what this question is getting at as well is like MRA as an acronym, that doesn't appear in the game. So we're like, well, we don't need to explain it. We say mid-range acceleration, but it does appear in the community a lot. And so that's where I think this comes up. You go into the threads and you're like, oh, so everybody's talking about this crazy thing. And so that's odd, right? So, and in the community, they refer to this calculation method come up with by Rex Guando, who got a carbon fiber for it back in the last special, because it is pretty cool. Calculating this ratio of the 60 to 100 speed to the 0 to 60. That's not the only version of mid-range acceleration. Like I was saying, maybe a car could be really good above 120, say. But it is a pretty good way of getting a rough idea if a car's going to be performing beyond what you might expect. But the fact it's scaled to the 0 to 60, that's the clever thing about it. The 0 to 60 you can see on the card. So you're like, oh, the 0 to 60 is only 3.7. This is good. And you look up the MRA and go, oh, it's only 60. Right, probably not that good then. So, but that's weird, right? That's in the community's hands. So what's the interplay there? It's kind of odd. The community have their own way of referring to upgrades. We don't put that in the game. We've still got this 3.3, 3.3, 3.3 game. So I feel like maybe we perhaps need a sort of definitive community new player guide thing. I think maybe needs to emerge. I don't think there's any way definitive that players go. You can find this stuff all over the place, but there isn't one really like, oh, everybody who wants to get serious about top drives, you should read this thing. This has got all the stuff. I don't think there is one of those. And maybe that's what's needed somehow. Here's the stuff. You should read this. Once you've beaten the campaign or something, it's like, you should definitely read this now. Maybe that's how we cover it. I don't know quite how we create that. That's right.
Just to add to that quickly, we will be doing some changes to KT Play and forums soon in the next month or so, and there is a section with tips and things like that. So we're actually going to be filling that with some official information. So we're probably going to include MRA info in there as well.
Cool.
So hopefully it's going to be a little bit more helpful.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's done for this part. I just wanted to quickly chat about PL12 and the hotfixes that we've had.
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge the fact that there have been some issues, but we're doing our best at attempting to resolve them. We really appreciate everyone's input on the forums, and it helped us tremendously in finding out what exactly are the problems and how we can fix them. So keep those coming.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say as well that the screen overlapping thing that people have seen, where different screens are coming on top of each other, that is pretty mad. You have to restart the whole game to get out of it. And that turns out to be tricky because it related to your internet connection. So if we're testing the game and we're on decent Wi-Fi, it doesn't even come up. And then players are doing it, you go, why have these players got all this thing? Why is it everywhere? And it's like, oh, the people with worse internet are getting it more. That is somehow the interaction. So that's why that took us a little while to track down. It wasn't as obvious right at the start. Hoping that we've mostly got to the bottom of it by now. I haven't had it on the latest build, but just fingers crossed that has been solved.
Yep. So last thing for today, well, before we go into the bonus question, Top Drives is celebrating its third birthday. I think it was a couple of days ago. So it's a big day really, and it's still going strong. But we wanted to congratulate all players for being with us and really thank everyone. And as a sort of token of appreciation, I think by this time this video goes out, everyone should already received I think there's a carbon fiber pack for all players above 200 RQ. So yes, you guys obviously have been here for a while. I don't know if you have anything to say about this, about the third birthday.
Yeah, it's been a great journey. I remember, those early days still really clearly how amazingly fascinating this game was, because we've been playing it before it came out. There's a sort of soft launch period, and it's like, it's kind of, this is interesting. How does this work? And we were working on it and changing how things worked. And it was really with the launch, I was like, wow, there's really something interesting here. Actually, this is great. And I was more into it than I expected I would be. And then, it's just been an incredible journey from there.
Yeah, I think it's just so, even, I think maybe in sort of some of the early days of Hutch and in previous roles, previous companies, I think, there's just been that sense of sort of building a game, having a great big, or as big a launch as you can. And then, sort of almost, it's almost managing the tail really as it dies down and everything drops. That's just how it sort of used to work and it still does in certain parts of the market. And I think for us, Top Drives it's just been so amazing to see it just get sort of grow and evolve and get stronger. And I mean not trying to sort of sound cheesy, but that really has been driven by the players in the community that are kind of powering that. They're powering the fact that it's stronger now than it's ever been in the past is down to the community. So it's been an amazing 3 years, and hopefully lots
more to come. Yeah, well, there's another milestone I like as well, that when we launched, our CEO was talking about it somewhere, and he said, we've just launched Top Drives, it's got 2,000 cars in it. And we're like, no, it doesn't. What? Jeepers. Okay. And, you thought, okay, it's got 700. That's a lot. All right, that's impressive. We've now got 2,000. We've done it. We did the thing. Yeah. There are 2,000. Good.
It took us 3 years, but it's not bad.
That's right, we got there.
Okay. Thank you both for the input. So now it's time for John's bonus question, which was, if you had to pick one car for circuit use, what would it be?
Yeah, so I think as we discussed at the time, this isn't necessarily about going out and just being the fastest or setting the fastest lap time. This was just about if you have an opportunity to drive around a track, what would you take just for pure enjoyment? Look, lots of answers for this. I'll just run through a few. Dale Snail, Alfa Romeo Giulia GTA Stradale is an excellent choice. I think you're going to look very, very stylish out there on the track. The Kraken HW, I have to pick this because he's suggested a Caterham 7160, and I think that's actually I think that captures a lot of what we were talking about. Is that it's not, the 160 is actually the sort of entry point to the Caterham range. Tiny engine, really skinny tires, but it's in a way that's what it's all about. You would just be having so much fun out on the track, and you wouldn't be terrifying yourself. And I think that's a massive part of it. I think I guess it's pronounced Redemption, or R3 Redemption. Gone sort of sensible-ish choice of a Golf R. Still a great car. And it's, again, I think it's that accessibility. And actually that's such a big part of this. So a lot of the answers kind of touch on this, that it's just like, you want something that you can just, you don't necessarily want to be terrified. I mean, there might be points where actually going out in something scary is good, but actually a lot of the time it's just, go out, take a Golf R, good, secure handling, really fast, and just start to kind of learn the limits and learn the track and just have some fun. Preston LK has gone for a current gen Shelby GT 350R. This is actually one of those cars. I know I like to think I've driven not nothing compared to a lot of people, but I've driven a reasonable selection of cars. Just never really got to experience sort of the whole muscle car area. And also, I think the GT 350R must be. It's one of those cars I would love to try it, because it's the sort of combination of kind of muscle car roots, but built for the track and built for handling. And I just think, must be a kind of great machine to get out on track where you've got the space to really play. HGR Automotive Gaming. This just had to come up. 911 GT3 RS. I think if you probably spoke to most car journalists, I reckon they would. I reckon this is probably where they would go to. It's in such kind of rarefied territory in terms of how highly these cars are regarded. It's a great choice, and something, again, I've never had a shot and would love to try. Automotive gaming experience, just a couple more. Honda Civic Type R, EP3 generation. And again, I think that's in that kind of accessible territory, front wheel drive, but it's just quick enough and grippy enough that you could really kind of, work it out on the track, but without being too crazy. Somebody just like this next, Samsung Tab 3 has suggested a few of maybe the scarier end. So kind of BMW M1 Pro car would be absolute monster of a thing, I think, to kind of get a hang of out on track. I love the fact that the MG X-Power SVR has come up. That's one of those kind of just very unusual sort of British muscle cars that they only built a few. It's the sort of thing that you could probably imagine you need to watch the tail on that, but I reckon will probably be good fun on the right circuit, really. So thank you to all of those. Some lots of suggestions, and some great suggestions came up. I think, as everybody knows, I would go straight to a Caterham. Actually heading off to Brands Hatch this evening for one of the last track days of summer, so that would be my first choice. But I actually just recently read about a little car. Say little, it's actually made by the Little Car Company, and they've done a Bugatti Type 3 toy racer. So Bugatti Type 3 was a incredibly beautiful, very successful racing car back in the, I'm going to get my dates wrong, but way back, decades and decades and decades ago. I think, and they, at the time, they built, head of Bugatti, or sort of founder of Bugatti, built actually crazy, because it was way back in the early sort of 1900s, but built a little electric toy version of it to drive around his estate at the time. or for his kids to drive around the estate. And then they've kind of taken, the little toy car company has taken that concept and just done an absolutely beautiful little electric sort of Bugatti race car. It's kind of for kids. It's weird. It's kind of sized for kids and adults. I think it ranges between about 35 and 65,000 pounds. So it's an expensive toy.
Wait, it's literally like a half the size of a regular car?
It's about half the size. Yes, I think it's about half. I need to double check. It's either half or a third, but yes, it's about roughly sort of half size. So little. I mean, obviously using cutting edge electric tech, and I've read a couple of reviews where the people just say that it's like. I mean, I read about it to begin with, and it was just like, oh, this is just one of those silly little. It's kind of irrelevant little toy, very expensive toy. The reviews are just brilliant because I think everybody's gone into it with the same mindset, and then they've just got it out. I mean, it's not road legal. It's you've got to be on a track or private land, and they've gone out in it, and they've just said it absolutely hilarious. You're just grinning the whole time. You're kind of sitting up on a bench seat, so kind of clinging on to this tiny little kind of wooden steering wheel. I think it does 42 miles an hour max, so it's absolutely in the category of you're not going to terrify yourself, but super skinny tires, and you're just probably going to be drifting through the corners, and that's shot up to the top of my list. That if I had a bit of land or a bit of a track where I'm not going to be getting swamped by bigger cars, that's gone up to the top of my list. Thanks for all the responses for that. Just thought I'd run next bonus question just very quickly. So it's all been very positive. It's about concept cars and cool cars and like great track cars. I thought I'd just go kind of a little bit darker just for one. And it's basically the worst car in top drives is the question. But the key bit about this is it's not based on performance. It's just that, so it's got to be conceptually the worst car you think is in top drives in terms
conceptually.
Yeah. So kind of, it was just a bad design. Maybe it replaced a previous generation, was actually worse, or I don't know, maybe it's unbelievably dull, or it broke down all the time, or lots of different reasons. But I'd love to know, what do you think is the worst car top drives?
Okay, that's a great question. I'm actually, when you said about yourself going to this meetup, Caravan meetup, John, I'm really jealous right now. I wish I could do something similar. Okay, guys, thank you very much for this, for coming in today, and hope to see you next time in the next episode of the Top Drive Show. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our social channels, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So we hope you enjoyed the video. Happy birthday, Top Drives. And we're very much thankful and grateful to all players who have stayed with us throughout all these years, and those who joined us recently as well. And we are looking forward to spending more years with you guys. So I'll see you in the next episode of the Top Drive Show.